Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Evelyn of Pink Sheep Design, aka the Pink Sheep, and today we are going to be making a pair of my favorite, what I'm calling my favorite fingerless gloves. This is a part of my craft show success pattern bundle. It's all of the items that I used to take to craft shows on a regular basis that are super quick and easy to make, but are seen, especially by consumers, as high quality items and should sell very well. So today's video is all about how to make the fingerless gloves pattern. I will show you guys. These are the fingerless gloves. They're super simple. You can see the thumb hole here, and I will try them on for you. There we go. It's still hot here in Georgia right now. It's still summertime, but planning ahead for fall craft shows. All right. So this is what the fingerless gloves look like on. And like I said, these are super simple. They're a very quick make. I would usually sell these for about $30 a piece at my shows. What you will need to make these is one skein of super bulky size 6 yarn. I chose to use Wool Ease Thick and Quick. Wool Ease Thick and Quick usually comes with about 96 to 100 and something yards per skein. So it's enough to make a pair of these and still have some left over. And then you will also need a 12mm hook. I'm going to be using one of our own 3D printed ergonomic hooks. I would love it if you would hit the like button on this video and subscribe to my channel. If you like chunky crochet tutorials, that is the goal for my channel, is to provide more tutorials using super bulky and bulky yarn for super quick makes and beginner friendly patterns. All right, so let me flip that camera around and we will get started. For these fingerless gloves, we are going to start with by chaining 13. Okay. Once you have 13, you're going to make sure that your chain is nice and straight. You don't want it to be twisted like this. You want it to be nice and straight across. And you are going to join this chain by slip stitching into this very first chain stitch right here. Right? So I'm going to insert my hook into that very first chain space. I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to pull that yarn through the chain space, and I'm also going to pull it through the yarn on my hook. Okay, that's my slip stitch. And then I'm left with a circular chain that is connected, and I'm ready to start my rounds, right? So the first round of these fingerless gloves is going to be half double crochet stitches all the way around. You're not going to be doing any increasing, okay? You're just going to work a half double crochet stitch into each of the chain spaces around, giving you a total of 13 half double crochet stitches at the end of the row. Okay, so I'm going to start off by chaining 1, and then I'm going to find the very first chain space right next to my hook, right here. Okay, it's right next to it. I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into that very first chain space, pull up that third loop, okay, yarn over again, and pull through all 3 loops on my hook, creating my first half double crochet stitch. Right? So I'm going to repeat this process all the way around. Alright, so it looks like I have worked into each chain space around available, but I want to double check. So I am going to do a quick count of my stitches. I'm going to start with my very first half double crochet stitch here. I'm going to count around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And I needed 13, so I'm good to go, and I'm going to go ahead and join this round. And I join all of the rounds with a slip stitch, just like I joined the chain. All right, now that you have finished round 1, we are going to chain 1, and we're going to actually turn our work. So not only are you working in the round to create these fingerless gloves, you're going to be turning your work in between each row. And when you turn your work, that just means you're going to be working into the same stitch faces, but you're going to be coming at them from the opposite direction, okay? So I'm going to turn my work around. I'm literally just going to flip my work over, okay? And I'm going to be working into the inside of my gloves to create this next round. So the next round, round 2, is actually single crochet stitches all the way around, okay? So I've already chained one. I'm going to insert my hook into the closest stitch to my hook, yarn over, pull up my second loop, yarn over, and create my first single crochet stitch, okay, working into the inside of my gloves, right? So I'm going to do this all the way around. And for these, because your first row was half double crochet, you are going to have multiple loops that you can work into, all right? So you can see here, we have, let's move all this, we'll focus on the work. You have this first loop here. Okay, I'm going to try to put my finger underneath that. That's the first loop. You have a second loop here, right? And if you turn your work, you have a third loop back here. So half double crochet stitches create 3 loops that you can actually work into. We are going to be working into the back 2 loops only, all right? So we're leaving this first loop alone, and we're inserting our hook into the second and third loop. Okay, so you can see that I do have 2 loops of yarn over my hook. That is the second loop and the third loop created by that half double crochet stitch. I'm creating my single crochet. All right, so again, in the next stitch, you can see that you've got a loop right here. Okay, I'm going to stick my hook underneath that so you can see. That one, we are not going to be working into that loop, right? We're going to work under the next loop and the loop after that, right? So it's that second and third loop created by those half double crochet stitches from the first round, right? And that's how you will work all of your single crochet rounds for these gloves. So I'm going to continue working my single crochet stitches all the way around. I should have 13 in total. All right. So I believe that that is the last stitch, but I'm going to be sure. So I'm going to start with this very first stitch here, and I'm going to count around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Perfect. So I want 13. So I'm going to go ahead and join with a slip stitch into the very first single crochet from that round. I'm going to chain 1, and again, I'm going to now turn my work, and I'm going to be working into these single crochet stitches from round 2 from this side of my work. So I'm working into the outside of my work now, and I'm going to be working half double crochet stitches again. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into that very first stitch right next to my hook, pull up my third loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on my hook, creating my first half double crochet of round 3. So I'm going to be working half double crochet stitches all the way around. And I should have 13 stitches before I join. Okay, I have 13 half double crochet stitches, so I am now going to join with a slip stitch into the first half double crochet stitch of the round with a slip stitch. Okay, that's my slip stitch. Now I'm going to chain 1, and I'm again going to turn my work. So I'm literally just going to flip my work over, and I'm going to be working my next round of single crochet stitches into the inside of my work. Okay, so I'm going to insert my hook, pull up a loop, and pull through to create the first single crochet of that round. Now again, as a reminder, the last row of half double crochets created 3 working loops. This is the first one here, okay? Here is the second working loop, and if you turn your work, here is the third loop, all right? And these single crochet stitches will be worked into the back 2 loops. You're going to leave this front loop out of the stitch, right? So I'm going to insert my hook, pull up my loop, yarn over, pull through, and that's created that second single crochet stitch. Once I have completed 13 single crochet stitches, I'm going to again join my round, and that completes our 4th round. Now the 5th round is where we're going to place our thumb hole, okay? So I'm going to chain 1, I'm going to turn my work, and I'm going to work 11 half double crochet stitches. Once you've worked 11 half double crochet stitches, you're going to have 2 of these stitches left in the row. You're actually going to skip these 2 stitches, and instead of working into them, you are going to chain 3. So I'm going to chain 1, chain 2, chain 3, and then I'm going to join with a slip stitch into the first half double crochet stitch of round 5. All right? And that creates the base of your thumb hole, okay? So from here, we're going to chain 1, we're going to turn our work, okay? And that means that the first stitches you work are going to be into this chain space that you created at the end of the last round, okay? You are going to work 3 single crochet stitches into this chain space. You're not going to work into individual loops, all right? You're actually going to work into the space. So I'm going to place my hook underneath that chain space. I'm going to yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops, creating a single crochet stitch around the chain space. I'm going to do that again. Insert my hook underneath the chain space, pull up my loop, yarn over, pull through, creating number 2, into the loop, pull it up, yarn over, pull through. There are now 3 single crochet stitches around our chain space from the last row. Okay, so now we're going to work 10 more single crochet stitches into the rest of the spaces of this round. Okay, so these are going to be worked into, again, the back 2 loops of these half double crochet stitches from the last round. Now, if working into your work like this from the inside is frustrating for you or not very easy, you always have the option to flip your work inside out and turn your work. So instead of doing this, I could actually flip my work inside out and continue working my single crochet stitches this way into the outside. Okay, so when you turn your work, you can turn your work and flip it inside out if you are finding it difficult to work into the inside of your gloves. And I'm going to continue to do that for the rest of these so you can see that in process. All right, so I now have 13 total stitches of single crochet. I'm going to join into that first single crochet stitch that was placed into the chain space. I'm going to join with a slip stitch. I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to turn my work around and flip it inside out, which means I can now work my half double crochets into the outside of my work. And I'm going to be working 13 half double crochet stitches. All right, once you have 13 half double crochet stitches for that round, you're going to again join into the first half double crochet stitch from the beginning of that round, join with a slip stitch, chain 1, turn your work. You can also, again, you can go ahead and flip your work inside out when you turn it, and that's going to allow you to work your single crochet stitches into the outside of your work instead of having to work into the inside of the piece. All right, so from here, we're going to work 13 single crochet stitches all the way around. All All right, I've got 13 single crochet stitches, so I'm now going to join with a slip stitch into the first single crochet from that round. I am going to chain 1, I'm going to turn my work over, and I'm going to flip it inside out. And you can really start to see now the difference in the texture of either side of the glove. So you have a different look to both sides. And honestly, I don't use the terms right side, wrong side because I feel like they're reversible. If you prefer this pattern to the pattern on the other side, then you can use it that way. These gloves are very versatile in that way. All right, so the next round is 13 half double crochet stitches. So as you can see now, we have a very solid pattern of just going between half double crochet rounds and single crochet rounds, and you're just turning your work in between each round. All right, I have joined that row with a slip stitch. I'm going to chain 1, turn my work around, flip it inside out, and again now you can see this is the side that I usually go with when I sell these gloves because of the ridges here. And these ridges are created by working into the back 2 loops of your half double crochet, because these ridges are actually that first loop that you're skipping, okay? So from here, I'm only going to do, I think, 3 more rows, right? And you can actually see, so the working side of your yarn right here, this is the side where your hand is going to go in. So if I flip this around, I'm going to push my hand through, pull it down, and you can already start to see these taking shape, right? Now you do have an option here. If your hands are smaller, you could actually do a decrease on this row, this next row that we're doing, to decrease this around the wrists. But when I sell at craft shows, I know that I'm going to have a lot of different people with a lot of different hand sizes, so I usually err on the side of a larger glove, which is why this is a straight up and down, and I don't include any increases or decreases in the pattern. This type of stitching creates a bit of a stretch, so it's going to fit a wider range of hands. This is also why the starting chain is this side of the glove, because the starting chain doesn't have a lot of give. As you may have noticed in certain projects, when you use a starting chain and you join it, there's not as much stretch here. So I like for this side to be over the hands instead of trying to fit your wrist through this starting side. Okay, so from here I'm going to work a few more rows so that you can see what that looks like. But honestly, you can make these as long or as short as you like. I made them shorter for my craft shows just because it took less time to make, saved me a little bit of yarn, and people still loved them. But for craft shows, it's all about being able to have enough inventory for your shows, so I liked to keep them a little bit shorter and save myself a little bit of time. All right, so this next round is going to be single crochet stitches, 13 again. All right, so I'm going to place that first one. Again, we are working into the back 2 loops of each half double crochet stitch, leaving that first loop to create that ridge effect. All right, now that I have 13 single crochet stitches, I'm going to join into the first single crochet of the row, chain 1, turn my work, flip it inside out. And again, you do not have to flip your work inside out. You could just work into the inside of the glove if it's too much to be flipping the work inside out each time. But I'm going to do another row of half double crochet stitches. All right, now that I have 13 half double crochet stitches, I'm going to join with a slip stitch into the first single crochet of the row, half double crochet of the row. I'm going to chain 1, I'm going to turn my work around, flip it inside out, and I'm going to do one final round of single crochet stitches. Okay, once I have 13 single crochet stitches, I'm going to join with a slip stitch into the first single crochet of the row, right? And now I'm ready to tie off my ends and weave them in, right? So I'm going to give myself a little bit of a tail. I'm going to yarn over and pull that tail through my final loop on my hook. I'm going to pull tight these knots on the ends. For me to weave in my ends, I'm actually going to flip my glove one more time. So I'm going to flip it inside out because I want the knots when I weave in my ends to be facing the inside of the glove. Okay. So let's find the first end. Here's my first end. I'm going to thread that yarn through my tapestry needle, and I'm going to start to weave the yarn down through the loops in the glove. I just find one loop of yarn usually, and I pull that yarn through. I try not to tighten it. You know, I don't want it to cinch this glove like this. I don't want to do it too tight. But I'm just going to slowly find yarn to weave through to get this tail down away from the base of the glove. All right, once I'm about an inch away, I'm going to take the yarn out of the tapestry needle. I'm going to untwist it so that I can separate the two plies of the yarn. And this doesn't work for all yarn, but this is what I use for any yarn that allows me to split the yarn in half. Right, I'm going to thread one of those strands, one of those ply strands, through the tapestry needle. I'm going to find at least 2 strands of yarn in the glove to work underneath and pull that yarn through. This is just going to separate those 2 plies from each other so that I can then tie a knot, right? And when I tie a knot, I do a double twist knot. So I'm going to wrap the yarn over once, I'm going to wrap it around again, and then I'm going to pull it not too tight because again I don't want this to cinch, but just snug, and then I'm going to do it again. I'm going to wrap it once, wrap it twice, then pull it tighter this time. Okay, now once I pull that knot tight, I can snip it. Okay, just like that, and now the knot is going to be hidden on the inside portion of this glove. Okay, so I'll do the same thing on the other side. Let me find that tail. See if I can find it. There it is. Okay, so when I find this tail, I'm going to thread that tail through the tapestry needle. I'm going to start to weave it down away from the edge of the glove. Okay, and once I've got it about an inch away from the edge of the glove, I'm going to untwist the yarn, separating the 2 plies. Going to thread 1 ply through the tapestry needle, find at least 2 strands of yarn to pull it underneath, and then tie my knot, wrap once, wrap twice, pull snug, do it again, wrap once, wrap twice, pull tighter this time, and then snip my ends. Now I am ready to flip my glove back right side out. There we go. And you can tell when you pull on this side, you're not going to feel as much give. Okay. When you pull on this side, you're going to have much more give. This is the side that you want to insert your hand into, and you can tell it's a little longer. So you do want more length down here. So this is going to be the side where I insert my hand. And there you go. That is my finished fingerless glove. Now the good news is you don't have to do anything crazy to make the opposite glove. You can follow this pattern exactly the same way because the seam of this glove is nearly invisible. It is running right up the side right here, okay? So by repeating this glove, when you put this on the other hand, the seam is actually going to be located on the back side of the glove right here, okay? But because you're turning your work in between the rows, it really makes that seam near enough to invisible that I've never had anyone even notice that the seam is placed on the back side of the hand on one side, and the other side it would be running down the inside of the hand. Okay, and I will give you guys, you can see this pattern is available for purchase as a PDF pattern in my Etsy shop. The link is in the description box. of this video if you'd like the PDF version of this pattern. I also include an MSRP. So I used to sell these gloves for $30 a piece. That was just what I did. It worked really well for the pricing of the materials and for the time that I spent creating them. Anywhere from $25 to $30 is great for these gloves if you're selling them at craft shows or selling them online. But that's just an idea for you, to start with if you're not sure where to start with pricing. I do tell people too, something that I've learned from selling these at craft shows. You do want people to be able to try them on, but what I usually tell people is to take off their rings. So if someone has rings on, they need to take those rings off before they try on your gloves so that they don't snag the yarn. So those are my top tips, what I think you should probably start maybe selling them for, as well as tips for actually having them at craft shows and making sure that people don't actually ruin any of your gloves at the shows. I truly hope you enjoyed this project. Let me know in the comments what you think, if you enjoyed it. And if you did, I would love if you would hit the like button and subscribe to my channel here on YouTube so that you never miss a video. And I can't wait to bring you more patterns in the future. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Until next time, happy hooking!